Well, hello everybody, this is Tim Green with Rattle Magazine. Welcome to the Rattlecast. We're the biggest freewheeling live streaming poetry podcast on the planet. In your ears, not on your laptops. Our guest for episode number 349 is Rasaq Malik Gbolahan. He'll be here in a few minutes, but before we get in, I should say that Rattle is a publication of the Rattle Foundation, a 501c3 nonprofit working to promote the practice of poetry. We've been in continuous publication since 1995 and are unaffiliated with any other organization. We just do all this if you love poetry. I know you do too, so please do click on the like button and share. Make sure you're subscribed. Ring the bell for notifications. Whatever you can do to help spread poetry around the internet would be much appreciated. Now we're going to take a quick start with our Poet Respond poem, like we always do. And it was by Samuel A. Bedeku, who's been in Poet Respond before, but not for a few years. And he was writing about that wonderful scene of that proposal on top of the Empire State Building. It's rare, that some uplifting news happens that we get to write poems about. And this was a powerful poem that takes that really imagistically and runs with it. Samuel said this about the poem: "I consider this one of the most beautiful things I saw on the internet this week. Just as I was about to send the poem, I learned that the lovebirds who have been arrested after the climb had been granted supervised release." So that was the note, and this is the poem. Let's give it a listen.
Lovers atop the Empire State Building. My legs nearly give way watching them, perched on Riquiodon's Olympus, like gods on the verge of flight. Neck deep in my singleness, I think they must be mad to risk the spire's treacherous grip for love's sake, the wind ruffling their mounted banner as if it would strip them like autumn leaves, send them spinning into the whir of metal and asphalt below. You'll think them mad too, if, like me, you fail to see the point of Endict's words on the banner, fluttering boldly in New York's air. When the power of love beats the love of power, the world knows peace. Is it too much that this pair, alive with the golden echo of desire, have chosen to stand on the thin edge between life and death for a cause as dire as life and death? Who blames the body running mad in a burning house? Haven't we watched enough of the world fraying at the edges? Our daughters and sons, brothers and sisters, falling prey to maniacs down in power like moonshine. How mad can we get to salvage what's left of us and of time's relentless blossoming? This is a war between what beats in us and what beats into us. Perhaps what will save us is a love mad enough to dare the heights, the banner of our tongues held up by the heart's rebellious mast, rattling loud against the fury of the wind, our own bodies suspended between what is and what may be. Watch how the young man kneels now in uncertain year, held aloft by love, how he holds out the ring to his giggling lover. Above them, their banner flutters on like a sail, just before the ship begins to sink into the swelling deep.
Yeah, there's a powerful poem from Poet Respond by Samuel A. Bedeku. That was Lovers Atop the Empire State Building. That was the poem of the day on Sunday. If you have any poem about current events, anything about news that's going on right now, write your poem by Friday at midnight. Submit it there. You'll see under content at rattle.com, the Poet Respond page. Go there to the submission portal, submit your poem by midnight, and we'll publish a poem every Sunday. And of course, you get those poems in your inbox by going to the bottom of any page and putting your email address in where it says sign up for a daily poem. Get a daily poem every day, including those Poet Respond poems. Before we continue, a reminder too that the Rattle Poetry Prize deadline is coming up. That is $15,000 for a single poem. Entry fee is a 1-year subscription to Rattle. This is our major fundraiser, the thing that funds a big portion of all the things we get to do at Rattle, promoting the practice of poetry. The deadline is June 15th. You can submit up to 4 poems for that entry fee of a 1-year subscription. $25,000 in total prizes for single poems, 15 to the winner, 5 to a Reader's Choice Award. Finalists get $500 each too. So a whole lot of awards to give out. It's our big fundraiser every year. Make sure you enter. All right, now we're going to take a quick break and go to our main guest. So sit tight and we'll be right back with a whole lot more poetry. Welcome back. Thanks so much for your patience. Like I said, today's guest is Rasaq Malik Gbolahan. He's a Nigerian poet, translator, performer, editor, and essayist. He co-founded the Agbowó digital journal devoted to literature written in Yoruba. His debut full-length collection, The Origin of Wounds, was winner of the 2024 Anhinga Prize for Poetry. It moves through war, displacement, grief, homeland, migration, children, ancestry, and a whole lot more. A powerful book we're going to be talking about and exploring today. And here he is, Rasaq Malik. How you doing, Rasaq?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. Are you?
I'm great. Yeah, it's great to have you on. Why don't we just start out right away with one of the early poems in the book, Biography of Homeland.
Okay. Biography of Homeland. 1. I begin where the map opens into ones that open into rooms where the children wake up each morning, uncertain of their safety, unsure of when the sky will be bright enough for them to see birds in place of bullets. I begin where the hands of a clock says, the hands of war reversing, returning us to the street of villages where there are people counting their dead and searching for their missing beloved. Some nights, the children ask their parents about the time the war will stop. But in these villages, there are no clocks without their hands seized. No one knows when bullets will stop crowding the air, when bombs will stop dropping on beings occupied by children whose dreams are fragile in this land where no one knows when the hands of war will stop demolishing the buildings, rendering families homeless, displaced, pushing them to borders, to places where they will wash each their hand without their beloved. 2. I begin with the blood-stained flag of my homeland wrapped around a casket that contains the remains of a child. I begin where the head quivers beneath the feet of children, where the crones of birds fade in the din of bullets. I know the weight of silence clogging the air in places where there are mass graves. I know where history bleeds. In 1967, the Civil War began in my country. Decades later, the bones of the dead still groan beneath the earth of this country where the dead never sleep. 3. The dead never sleep. In my country, there are mass graves of patriots whose names my country never remembers because no one remembers all the names of the dead in a country where death lurks in the eyes of everyone waking up to see houses reduced to debris. Today in Baga, Aisha is burying her child. She's reciting Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un, as she lowers her remains into the earth of this country where nothing blooms, where nothing carries the touch of hope, because there are days when the natives weigh their dreams on the scale of war. Displaced, they call those who flee home amidst unrest. Immigrants, they call those who carry the wounds of homeland to a foreign country. For on night coffins, there are people taken in rooms where nothing promises them a the rest of soldiers brandishing guns in their street. Today, there's no one to call it that. Their loved ones, their dead, whose hands will never hold again the blood-soaked flag of this land where everything aches for a memorial.
Yeah, it's a powerful last line there, where everything aches for memorial. That's the opening poem from The Origin of Wounds by Rasaq Malik Gbolahan. Let's start out with your journey through and into poetry, how you became a poet. I think I read that your mother loved literature and read to you, and that was sort of your introduction. Can you tell us just more about the early stages of becoming a poet and how it became something that you knew would be your career?
Yeah, thank you. So I grew up in southwest Nigeria, the Yoruba people of Nigeria, uh, and I grew up in a town called Isheyin, uh, predominantly like occupied by the Yoruba people. So growing up for me, I was exposed to cultures and the traditions of the Yoruba people in a way. So for me, it's into storytelling, and my mother is an avid reader of the Yoruba literature, the indigenous literature, and so reading, I mean, seeing like her reading Yoruba literature, and also most times she would tell stories about ancestors, and then I also witnessed all these, cultural festivals, and so all of these materials, so yeah, in a way, uh, inspired me, I told that part by also reading Yoruba literature. So I'm exposed early to reading in Yoruba, in my language, in a way. Uh, so for poetry, like in a way, so I was in I mean, in Nigeria we call it like second school, but in the US it is called high school. So I was in secondary school, like when I was in secondary school, so I discovered poetry because I was in art class, and most of the poems that were introduced to us that time, yeah, both Western and non-Western poems. So I fell in love with the music, like in a way. I think the first thing for me is the music of poetry. Like, so I got to read poets like Kofi Awono, Song of Sorrow, Hey Charles Mann, David Rubadri, So all of these poets in a way, and I saw what they were doing like in their poems. I saw the music, I saw the language, I saw the movement of lines, but I think the poem that affected me most, like, it still remains Kofi Awono's Song of Sorrow, which the elegiac move, like the elegy, the music, the everything. It I wouldn't say it traumatized me, but I kept returning to that poem because I was like, what, like, I wanted to know what is happening. Like, yeah, I wanted to memorize this poem, you know. So I wrote my first poem. I mean, I was like 16 or 15 years old. That
Mm-hmm.
was in 2000, 2007 or 6. Like, yeah. So I wrote my first poem, but I knew that I didn't really. I mean, there was no mentor, like nothing like mentorship, anything. So I just wrote a little poem. So I somewhere. Uh, I didn't show anyone. So but the, so after finishing that, like sharing, I gained admission to the University of Ibadan, like in Nigeria. I studied literature in English, and that was, I think, for me, like, that's the time I realized that, okay, fine, I really wanted to do this thing. I really wanted to write, and I was reading, going to bookshop to buy books and everything. Oh, and I keep saying something about the fact that I came into poetry through passion. I mean, the passion is there. I saw what other poets were doing in their poems. Uh, and I started reading, and I really want to do this thing.
Mm-hmm.
The passion for me was like, yeah, it was immense.
Oh, hey, Rasaq, hey, Rasaq, sorry to cut you off. The connection is not very strong. I think we want to turn off the video so we can just hear you, because I think it's breaking up a little bit.
Okay.
And we'll see if that helps. Okay. Are you still there?
Yeah. Can you
Okay,
hear me
great.
now?
Yeah, I think the sound's better now. The video is just too much bandwidth, I guess. Anyway,
Okay.
yeah, we'll continue like this, just with the sound. So
Okay.
let's read the title poem next. The Origin of Wounds.
Okay. The origin of wounds. I began in a hospital ward where my mother stares at the still body of her father in astonishment, where she watches slowly, the grief gathering in her eyes as she touches her father's cold body. As she kneels beside his corpse, her mouth quivering each time she attempts to speak. I begin where his absence unfolds into tears, where silence thickens in his room on mornings bereft of him, waking up to listen to the radio, to watch through the window the trees outside his room, the birds in flight, the wind wailing in the streets. I begin where my mother weeps, where her body surrenders to the agony of knowing that her father would never return to his room, to his table to read the letters from his beloved. Two, I begin where death enters a room and meets a beloved gasping for breath. I begin with the solemn voices of the bereaved in rooms where their beloved surrender to death. I begin where nothing exists, where the wounds widen in the hearts of the bereaved. Three, Lord, I know there is the certainty of the end each time I hear the funeral hymns reaching me from reaching me from a burial ground. I know sometimes their loved ones remembering their dead beloved in the quietude of rooms where darkness invades everywhere. For I begin in my mother's room where nothing resembles joy, where the photographs of her dead drape the walls, where some night she counts the rosary beads as she prays for her dead. Five. I begin where the wounds begin with silence and then prayers and then silence. I begin with silence, the weight of a body in death, the weight of a casket containing the corpse of a beloved. I begin where the bereaved depart for their homes, where they turn to live, the dead lonely in their graves, the dead away of the bereaved departing for their homes. Six. I end where there's no healing for us who wake up each day to tend the wound of mourning at death.
And that was The Origin of Wounds, the title poem
Yeah.
from Rasaq Malik Gbolahan's book, The Origin of Wounds. And it's a wonderful title, Rasaq, because it sort of implies, that a wound has a beginning. And you go back through so much history and genealogy in this book. How do you decide where a wound begins?
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, so I was thinking about multiple wounds. I was thinking about different wounds, my country's wounds, familial wounds, personal wounds. So I looked at wounds across all of this, you know, this periods and times, places, you know, as a poet, my country and everything. So when I was thinking about the title, I felt like, okay, fine. How can I look at all of these ones? I mean, how can I, like, in a way, like, have a title that encompasses, all of these thematic preoccupations, like what I have, like, written down and everything. Oh, and for me, the wounds never heal. I think it takes a long period of time for wounds to heal and everything. But when we think about the country's wound, for me, it is a wound that keeps recurring, like it keeps coming, like you never get through it. You keep returning to that wound, because it keeps opening, like it no matter how you dress the wound or how you try to, like, prevent it from probably spreading, it keeps spreading. And so I was thinking about all of this, and when I was, like, after writing the poems and then thinking about the title that captures all of the, the tropes that I have in the poem. So for me, the wound begins with my country, and then to my homes, my family, and then to people, because yeah, definitely, I mean, I'm a Nigerian, and so whatever affects the country through the wound also affects me. So I'm thinking about all of this stuff, like, in a way. So yeah.
Hmm. Yeah. And so, you mentioned that wounds like these can't be healed. And I assume it's not the job of poetry to heal the wounds as much as to give voice
Yeah.
to the people who are suffering. Is that how you approach poetry? Do you feel like that's the central mission that you're tackling when you sit down to write a poem?
Yeah. Part of what you mentioned, I mean, I was thinking about the voice too, like giving voice to people that, like the voiceless, in a way. People who can't write poetry, people who are suffering, like, yeah, the suffering there. People who are, like, I mean, the dead, the living, I mean, everybody, like, in a way, who are not in that position to get to write or to talk about their experiences, especially when we think about the insurgency in Nigeria.
Mm-hmm.
So this is like, yeah, this is a bold, like a continuous, like, yeah, it keeps repeating itself. The wound never heals, like I said. And
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, so I was thinking about all of this, like the people that are not in that position to, or are not privileged, like, in a way,
Mm-hmm.
to come onto the page to write what they are experiencing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and for we mentioned the Civil War in the first poem, and so
Yeah.
basically what you're saying, the Civil War sort of never ended. It keeps reopening, and fighting returns, and the stability is always an issue, and it's interesting in a country that's growing so rapidly. There's a huge poetry scene which we talked about a few weeks ago. With how much poetry is coming out of Nigeria. It's really amazing,
Mm,
and yet it's a very
mm.
unstable, dangerous place in many areas too. Um, do you feel just again, what is the job of the poet in this situation? I mean, are you writing? I guess what I'm wondering is if you're thinking about audience in the United States. You are in Lincoln, Nebraska now.
Yeah.
Are you thinking about outside people when you're writing poetry, or are you thinking as much about your fellow Nigerians?
Yeah. I mean, I'll start with, I think you mentioned something earlier about, like, why, like, writing or the job of poetry or something like that.
Hmm.
So I'll start with, I think I'm writing against forgetting. To quote Caroline Forche, like, I mean, Caroline Forche had this anthology titled Against Forgetting, that she edited. So I think I was writing against forgetting, because, like, in a way, every day you go online and then you see, like, different news, like tragedies and everything, and it is very, very, like, quite, like, very easy, like, to get lost in this crowd of wounds, crowd of news and everything.
Hmm.
So I think the first thing I'm doing as a poet is to, like, write against forgetting. How do I preserve, or let these stories be written so that those who are coming behind, or those who would know that, okay, fine, this happened this time, this happened, and there is a record for this. It's like an archive. You go there and then you see the past, the materials, and everything. Oh, and my poems are not only for Nigerians. I'm thinking about other places too, because for me, the issue of insecurity, conflict, and everything is everywhere. But we can talk about, say, the degree of the conflict in every country. Anyway, like, okay, fine. I think in Nigeria, you get to see this every day. And then what about other countries? So what about the things that are happening in other countries too? So yeah, why the poems were like written, like were capture what is happening in Nigeria? It also, I think, looks forward to, or engages what, like, or connects to the outside world, like outside Nigeria, what is happening in other countries too. Because for me, whenever I go into, like, whenever I read a poem, I feel like the poem, I see stories that connect to my own story, my own experiences, and I think that is probably one of the beauties of poetry, like, or writing generally. You get to experience or see what other people are writing, and how they also capture your own experiences, like what you are experiencing and everything, even when they didn't probably think, or probably, like, because writing it's a lonely, or it's a solitary job, or it's like a solitary way of, like, you write alone, you stay in your room and you write and everything, and then you just write. It's possible that you might be thinking about people like outside there, and it's also possible that you just want to write and you let the poems go or live, its own lives. Like, people get to, like, read your poems and get to take whatever they want to take from the poems. But when I was writing about Nigeria, and then I was also thinking about, other countries too. What is happening in the modern time, like what we are experiencing now. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, that definitely makes sense. Let's hear another poem. The next one up is God.
Yeah, God. Yeah. God, here is my wound, the shape of my grandmother's face in death. Here is my grandmother's body, pressed beneath the soil, beneath the heavy clods of earth, where all things decompose, where the light of the world can no longer reach the dead. Here are the dark souls of loss. In the fast feast of the world, the dead are quiet, like my hands aching to touch them. Here are my grandmother's dust-laden photographs inside a box. Here are the gowns of mourning, the handkerchiefs of tears, the black beret of funerals, the sad shoes worn by the bereaved. Sometimes I imagine the feet without the bodies. God, I think about the ancestors buried here before my birth. Some days I look through the window at the flowers sprouting where their bodies, whose names I do not know. How empty the body of a beloved is there, and how weighty the earth that covers it. Here beneath this there is my grandmother's body, God. Here are her belongings in a room where dust settles on them, where nothing reminds me of all. I know, too, that nothing can steer the dead from their graves, from this earth where everything is fated to putrefy. Too, here is the comb stuffed with the strands of my grandmother's gray hair. Here is the last dress she wore, the last medication she took. Here is the sky opening into wounds, the head burying the dead. Here are my grandmother's eyes that will never open again to see the sparrows in the sky. Here are the trees of sorrow, the trees of mourning, lowering their branches in the wake of my grandmother's death. Here are the rigid roots of grave, the stunted twigs of hope, the shifted flowers of dreams. Here is the body's last dance. I mean, my grandmother's last dance before the stroke taken her to bed.
Yeah, another beautiful ending in that one. That here is the body's last dance. That was God from The Origin of Wounds by Rasaq Malik Gbolahan. Do you think, Rasaq, that the reason why poetry is so vibrant in Nigeria is because there's so much woundedness there and so much instability? Or is it, I mean, because it is, there's so much coming out. It's one of the really wonderful things that I've got to witness over the last 2 decades, publishing Rattle, is just the influx of submissions coming out of Nigeria, and so many great voices with so much passion and energy. Do you think part of that is because there's so much open wound, or is it more a cultural tradition as well?
Yeah, we can talk about the fact that Nigeria has always been like a vibrant literary space. For poets, writers, novelists. It's something that is unarguable, like in a way. But when it comes to poetry, I can't count the number of poets, even the emerging poets in Nigeria. But what I can say as someone who has been who is familiar with that landscape is that why we have poets who are like engaged, or examining the wounds and the post-colonial trauma, disillusionment, and everything. We also have poets who are writing about culture, the beauty of culture, because many tribes, many languages, and everything. So we have poets also writing about all of this, But yeah, we can go back to the Nigerian Civil War and then moving to the military regime and everything, and then the civilian, like in a way, and then coming to the emergence of the Boko Haram insurgency and everything. So if you look back at this history, you see these traces of like, okay, fine, we need to write about all of this stuff. We have books, memoirs about the Civil War. We have poetry about the Civil War. Uh, but we also have poets who are writing about other things different from what I have mentioned. But yeah, we can say that there are more poets exploring the wounds, than other aspects of the country. We have more poets writing about these wounds. Again, we have to write what is happening. We have to engage the happenings, because for me, like, literature generally mirrors the society. My answer to that is why we have poets who are working or writing about the wounds. There are also poets who are not writing about the wounds, and not that they don't bother about the wounds. Sometimes it is overwhelming, to keep writing about these tragedies. So we have poets who are also doing something differently to just keep themselves away from the tragedies, or writing about all of these tragedies, because it could be traumatic, when you keep writing about all of this, and it never stops. And because that is the most tragic, you can write about something today and then probably something happens and it's just there and it never repeats itself. But whereas you wake up every day and you keep saying the same thing, so even if you don't want to write about it, you will be pushed to write about it, because it keeps there. It stays there. It never leaves.
Is there a sense is there a sense of hopelessness in that regard, that there will be no peace, like it's just going to continue without stopping?
We can, the hopelessness in a way, and also you at some point you tend to resign to, like, okay, I'm tired, I don't know what to do again. I don't think this thing will end. and that is what I think most of us, like, I mean, like, coming from home, have to confront every day. Like, okay, when is this thing going to stop?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when is this thing going to stop? Don't we have a deadline? Like, when is this thing going to stop? And if you find yourself in that space where you keep writing about, because it keeps like happening, and so you get to lose hope. Like, you become hopeless. You become hopeless. That that time. I mean, that kind of hopelessness that comes with, like, okay, the government is. I mean, I don't know what the government is doing. Like, don't we have, I mean, don't we are we not going to have like a relief, or a break from all of these tragedies, like, in a way? So
Mm-hmm.
uh so yeah, so it's I think yeah, if you say hopelessness, like, yeah, you are right, definitely. I mean, many of us tend to, like, okay, we are tired of this, we don't know what is going to happen next. Yeah, and but in as much as it is still happening, you just want to, like, okay, write about it, and then you
Mm-hmm.
can also choose not to write about it, depending on on your own mental state, or your own thinking about, probably, like,
Yeah.
you have other things to talk about. Yeah, so yeah.
Yeah. Well, that definitely makes sense. Let's hear another poem. Blessed be the body in death is the next one.
Okay. Blessed be the body in death. Blessed be the body in death, and blessed be the hands touching the body in death to know the coldness of the body. Blessed be the hands dressing the body in death, carrying the body in death, folding the bed sheets that trick of the body before death and in death. Blessed be the stillness of the body in death, the stench of the body that shows how quick the body decays in death, and how sad that the body before death never understands the ordinariness at the end of life. Blessed be my grandmother's body that in death was carried tenderly from her bed to the casket and to the grave. 2. Blessed be her body wrapped in a burial shroud, prayed on by the bereaved who bowed to Allah as they prepared the body for the head. Blessed be the last days of her life, the stroke deepening, ravaging her to silence, to the futility of healing. Blessed be the silence of her mouth and the shut doors of her eyes in death. Blessed be the horse of grave, trampling the bodies of the bereaved, the birds creation in the sky on the day of her passing, the sky clouded and heavy with sorrow.
Yeah. Another powerful poem that was Blessed be the body in death from the origin of wounds. There's a question from Laura Berg. She wants to know how these poems come to you. This prophetic voice, rich with history and the story of the people, a voice filling you, one emerging from you, a river. There is the sense that the poems sort of flow out. I mean, there's so much rhythm and repetition going on in these. Did they come to you in that sort of prophetic way where it's like you're writing down, words from someone else?
I think my I think for me, it it's a product of years of reading.
Mm-hmm.
How, yeah, because I was reading, I read a lot. Like, I read poetry. Like, I mean, I read poetry anywhere, like anywhere in the world. Like, I mean, I just want to read, and one thing I do is I don't go out. So I spend most times I'm indoors and reading and everything. Oh, so yeah, I think for me it's a product. I mean, like an accumulation of period, like, of time, like, where I get to read, and so yeah. So and when I write poetry, like I said, I'm looking at what is happening in the country, what is happening to me, what is happening to people I know, if I don't know everything. Oh, yeah. So I think it's not prophetic. I mean, I don't know. People will say probably writers are prophet or something. But for me, I just feel that connection to like, okay, to this thing called poetry. Like I want to write, but I just don't want to write like writing that never exists in a vacuum. Like I want to write something that people can read and connect with. Like I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's this power in writing that I think it's probably the transformation or the healing. Yeah, we can talk about the healing or also like that probably astonishment in the language or the beauty of the rhythm or the music and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so I refer to all of this, the material, the books that I read and also thinking about my own experiences and everything, and then I just write. So and it's been so long, like it's been long, I mean, yeah, I started writing in 2007, 8, and 9, so it's been a long time of reading and getting exposed to people's writing and just doing my own thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So and then what I write to like in a way are things that are happening like the present, the history. So for me, I think it's just about reading and doing. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that definitely makes sense. I mean, we take in so much, and then it makes it easier to come
Yeah,
out. That's
yeah,
why the number one piece of
yeah,
advice I think is to read, read, read if you want to be a poet, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Um, I wanted to ask about the Yoruba language because you started
Okay.
a literary magazine in that language, and I was reading a little bit about it, and the fact that it's a
Oh,
tonal language is so
yeah,
fascinating to me. So what that means, as I understand it, is a certain sort of pitch for different syllables can make
yeah,
the words completely different, which seems like it gives a whole nother level of thing to
yeah,
play with for poetry, right? I mean, it's almost like another kind of rhyme that a non-tonal
yeah.
language like English doesn't have access to. So can you describe that a little bit, and how does that influence the poetry in that language?
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, Yoruba is a tonal language, and like you said, you can have like different like the same words, like five words now, like the same letters in a way, but without inserting or applying the tonal marks, it you definitely would get it wrong, like the pronunciation in a way. Even the meaning of the word would get lost. Oh, oh, and also, yeah, when we started the literary magazines, we publish only in Yoruba. We publish just Yoruba writers and everything. And
Mm-hmm.
because we were trying to look at we're trying to revive not just the speaking of the Yoruba language, but also the reading of the Yoruba literature. Because trust me, there's a decline in the reading of Yoruba literature in Nigeria
Mm-hmm.
among the Yoruba people. There's a decline, even in the speaking. Because yeah, definitely, I mean, English is the official language in Nigeria. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
get to speak, like, you go to school, you speak English, you get to you speak English and everything. So there's a kind of passiveness to the
Mm-hmm.
speaking of the language, and so we started the literary magazines and
Yeah,
dedicated
yeah.
or devoted to, so before coming to that language, you have to understand the tonal marks, that okay, fine, this is how to apply it. We have three, do re mi, and oh, and then coming to poetry now, and as a poet who writes in the English language, I also write in Yoruba language. I also write in Yoruba, but I mean, poets like D.M. Aderibigbe, Ahmed Ozeni, and some of these poets, you can see the Yoruba language in their poems, like probably 2 or 3 lines. They just insert the words and everything.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I haven't done that, like, in a way. I mean, I just separate it, like, if I want to write in Yoruba language, so everything will be in Yoruba language. If I want to write in English, I'll write everything in English. So I haven't considered infusing that language into my poems, like my English poems.
Mhm.
Oh, but if we think about influence, I think I've written some poems that are grounded like in probably like history, Yoruba history. So I think that is probably the only way I would say the language influences my own poetry. Like nothing like everything I write about, no. So
Mhm.
because I have a poetry book. I mean like unpublished like in a way. You written in like entire like in Yoruba language. So I just want to look at that and say, okay, fine. I want to publish in Yoruba. And if I'm writing in English, I want to publish in English. Like I want to just do this in English and not infusing Yoruba language into it.
Mhm.
Oh,
Do
but
you,
yeah, again, yeah,
yeah.
go on.
Do you translate from one to the other though? I mean, I think
Yeah, sure.
Mhm.
I'm also a translator. I translate,
Mhm.
and it's a difficult job. Trust me,
Mhm.
because there are words in English that you have to just be cautious, like in the way before translating them, like because it sometimes it's difficult to find the appropriate words, for
Mhm.
these words in Yoruba. So as a translator, you just have to find probably the closest, you know, the word that captures the intention, because you also don't want the meanings to get lost,
Mhm.
So you have to be very cautious of this and everything. So as a translator, from English to Yoruba, and also from Yoruba to English, I think for me it's also like reading, and because I have a lot of Yoruba literary text, so I'm familiar with this. And then when I encounter like a word in English that I am trying to like find a word for, like in Yoruba, I just have to look at the meaning and then the possible alternative. Like, okay, fine, I want to retain and maintain this meaning, but
Mhm.
there's a word that I have to use to capture this, so that anyone who comes across this can also understand. We
Yeah.
have proverbs, we have, but one has to understand the language before one get to do that kind of thing, like to find
Mhm.
like an alternative like word. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Well, I should say at this point, if you're enjoying this conversation, make sure you click the like button. There's always more people watching than have clicked like yet, and clicking like helps poetry spread around. Also, if you have any questions, like Laura Berg did, leave them in the chat window. I pay most attention to YouTube. Put the word question, all in caps. That helps a lot for me to see it as I'm scrolling back up. But in the meantime, let's hear another poem. Next up is The Grief That Startles the Waters.
Mm, the grave that startles the water. So the grave that startles the water does not have a name, like the remains of the dead after every war. Sometimes it appears that there are innumerable bodies settling like sediment on the seafloor. Think of the names buried in the quietude of an evening. The fishermen returning home with empty nets. Imagine us packed on a boat, our bodies aching the way a cage bird aches for flight. On the news, there are migrants whose bodies are unknown because the sea does not offer a tag to those who embrace it and its right of drowning. Sometimes I call it loss, that the night will come to us with an unmarked mass grave for our dead. That water, as simple as it sounds on our tongues, is an archive of graves, a place where history begins with those whose memories today still grip our hearts as mornings of drowning, British horse whose lives are cradled in despair, horse whose names will dissolve in the water of forgetfulness when the boat of death arrives to ferry us to the end of the world. Thank you.
That was The Grief That Startles the Waters from The Origin of Wounds. Several people have mentioned how much they like the titles. They're really strong titles in this book.
Mm,
And it just makes me wonder a little bit more about what your writing process is like. Obviously reading and having that beautiful language flow like you do is a big part of it. But how much revision do you do, and how do you come up with the right title?
Yeah, trust me. I think I'm happy that people are commenting on the titles. I mean, because I always find that part or aspect of my writing difficult. Trust me, because I'm a sucker for, like, I mean, I always love good titles. I mean, I'm in love. I if I go to a bookshop, I the first thing I will look at is the book cover. Trust me. I mean, I don't know if everybody does this. I look at the book cover, then I look at the title. Like, okay, how I want a title that can move me. I don't know. So yeah, I just want something that grieves, like, that is like, I want to return to this title. I want to return to this book. And yeah, you know. Uh, so my writing process, like, I spend time, like, more time on this. Trust me. Uh, I I I write when I'm alone.
Mm-hmm.
I I don't play music. It doesn't help me. I can't function well in a crowd, like, anyway. I mean, I just have to be alone in my room, quiet, quiet, no one, just me in my room, and then I write. Oh, but then we have drafts. Like, I have, like, first, second, third, fourth. Like up to, like, five drafts. And one thing I do is that once I write, I leave the poem probably, like, for, like, a week or two or three, even like a month. Then I return to the poem after a month. Then I leave, like, I edit and everything again, and then I leave the poem again for, like, 2 or 3 weeks. Then I return to it. So, so it takes time. Because and also for me, it's not like I'm like I'm on a quest for perfection. But I just want the poem to sound right. The poem to, yeah, to, at least as a poet engaging his own poem, to just move me, or do that impact that I want for other, of for the readers, like me. So yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, sometimes I mean, sometimes I change titles, like, even, like, several times. Once I look at the title and I see that the title is not working for me, then I change it again. Then I change it again. Then I change it again. But once I settle that, okay, fine, this title is working, then I just stick to it, you know. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it right every time, like at once. No, it takes repeated, repeated return to that
Mm-hmm.
poem, and then and then changing the title, like, you know, and everything. But one thing I can tell you is that I'm writing, I'm working, I'm thinking about titles of poem. I'm reading, I'm thinking about writing. I'm sleeping, I'm thinking about, okay, what do I want to title this poem? So so everything stays with me. Like, I find it difficult to detach myself from that world of, like, thinking about poetry every time.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think I have a poor social life. I don't go out. Yeah, I mean, yeah, trust me. I know that writers are like, okay, you have to go out and enjoy yourself, but I find it difficult to, like, because I feel like if I'm outside there, I would have probably spent the time I'm spending outside writing, like, a poem indoors. So I'm trying to break from that, but then that's my situation for now.
Yeah,
It's
well,
so
that is
difficult
the,
for
the
me to
formula though for being a great poet is reading and reading and reading and writing without stopping. Yeah. Well, we have
yeah.
time for two more poems. Rasik,
Okay,
let's
that's fine.
let's do months after my grandfather's death. Do you want to read that next?
Yeah, 55. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Months after my grandfather's death, one, the trees outside the window of his room have not stopped grieving. Each morning, their leaves litter the air. Their branches bend like pallbearers, lowering the body into the ground. Maybe this is a ritual, or a way of saying, see what happens to everything that remains. in the absence of a loved one. See how the bereaved stand, each one of them trembling in the cold of morning, bewildered by the heart of witnessing how the body returns to dust. So, during my grandfather's last days, nothing could lift his eyes to the sky to see the cranes migrate. In the hospital bed, he murmured words that sounded like prayers, like the longing to bask in the light of hope after days of passing through the throes of sickness. Lord, how pale the body becomes as the light of life wanes, as the door of the eyes closes, as the hands stiffen. On the day breath exited my grandfather's body, the earth was swarmed with leaves. The birds' voices were filled with dirges. Maybe this is what it means to sorrow, to know that the task of mourning can never be done alone. Because somewhere today, the bereaved gathered under the tent to mourn their dead beloveds. There are places where they are about to lower the dead into the earth. See the dogs barking in the street late at night. The sky displaying their grave through the clouds. See how, months after my grandfather's passing, the trees outside the window of his room never stop mourning.
Yes, a great poem. That was in the months after my grandfather's death, from The Origin of Wounds by Rasaq Malik Gbolahan. We keep showing the cover on screen. You mentioned that the first thing you look at is the cover of a book. So how did you find this cover? We'll put the cover artist is on here. Let's Be Kids by Ruby Okpara, 2025.
Yeah.
So how did you come across this and decide that this should be the cover of your book?
Trust me, it was a long journey. I was because I wanted something that I don't know if I achieved that, but my dream was like, okay, I wanted to cover that. People will see and they will see like, wow, like okay, I want to buy this book, you know. So I was thinking about that, and then I was also thinking about because I found the artist like on Instagram. I was online. I was just browsing, and then I saw the you know this. I mean, like some pictures, and I mean and everything. I was like, okay. And then the first thing that I think that made me fall in love with this cover. I look at the landscape, like the buildings now, the emptiness of those buildings. Oh, but then it reminded me of my own, my formative years in the sharing. You know, I live in a town, and I mean, I grew up in that town and everything. And I mean, these houses are familiar, So I mean, I saw them every day, something like this, and then the trees, and then like the mountain or something like that. I mean, so the background in a way. I mean, I fell in love with the background, and then the children. Now focus on the children now. So there's something about childhood that I think most of us want to return to that period of time when and then I'm discussing. I'm saying this from my home. I think for me, I when I was growing up, it was all fun. There was really no like tragedy. I mean, when I say tragedy, I mean even when probably there was like someone died, we weren't like probably fully understand or fully got to know probably what it meant that time. Like, okay, fine, someone died. But then I can say that my parents were there for me, and so I didn't have like that experience of like, okay, uh, yeah, sadness. Like, so when I saw the pictures, like this, then I was thinking about the children too, just playing around, like just moving, and then there's this unaware. I mean, they weren't aware of what will happen later, like in the future, or even after that that period of time when they were playing, like just having fun and not bothered. I mean, they were not bothered about anything, just doing that thing, children's thing, you know. And
Yeah.
and when I look at the poems in the like in this collection, I think about the children that I capture, you know, whose lives and experiences who are affected by the insurgency. They never, I mean, they just came into the world and they never expected all of this happening. You know, it's just like the children, you know, and when we think about the war or conflict or unrest in many parts of the world, I think more of the children. Not that I don't. I mean, like for me, I think of more of the children. What is the fate of these children dying? What is? I mean, why would we allow a world where children are dying, where these tragedies, you know, and so yeah, and so most of the poems, in a way, at least the first part, I mean, the poems in this collection look or engage or look more into that tragedy that affect the children in Nigeria. You know how they have to, you know, most of them orphaned by war, their parents die and everything. And so yeah, but for people who encounter this book, the cover, the first thing that they see, it gives them that sense of probably like the children are enjoying, or they have no, there's nothing traumatic about their life. So I want to paint that positive side, like, of the world. Like, okay, fine. I want the children to be alive. I don't want them to be dead. I want them to just be children, doing children's things. I don't want them
Yeah.
to be affected by this conflict, you know. Wow. Yeah, but looking at it, and then like I said, but then the buildings too, the emptiness also, for me, is a metaphor for that hopelessness. Like, it's just the buildings are just standing unoccupied, and people are not there. It's just the building, but then in the background, like, so we have the children and just doing their thing and everything. So it's yeah. So that is my own interpretation. So I just fell in love with it, and I was like, okay, fine, let me just get this for my book. And yeah, so that was it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, definitely, they're sort of the hope and hopelessness both, sort of almost an equal measure in that cover, which is sort of both uplifting and heartbreaking at the same time because of it. I think, you know, especially how
Mm,
it ties through the title. Um,
mm.
well, let's finish out with one last poem. Let's read "Emptiness" to close out.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Emptiness. One. Not even the sound of a bell can wake the dead that lie still beneath this land. No one will wake up again to listen to daily news or walk the street without thinking about the speed of a bullet reaching for the heart of a child. While his mother, aware of the grief awaiting her, screams her son's name into the dark care of this land. Two, in a room, a woman curbs the light of a matchstick as she searches for the remnant of a candle. Her husband is dead, his body deposited at an unknown morgue. During war, no one knows where all the dead are buried. There are those buried where they fall, where their hands open for the world to see how empty they are, how ordinary everything becomes. Three, in the stillness of grave, a woman carries the remains of her child before begging another woman to help her place her on her back. Four, in this land, there is nowhere spacious enough to contain all the dead. Sometimes the dead are exploded body parts scattered in the streets. In death, their charred remains remind the world of how bombs could turn everywhere into a field of sorrow, into a field where a man buries his child before hanging himself.
Yeah, another heartbreaking ending to a heartbreaking poem. That was Emptiness from Rasaq Malik Gbolahan's The Origin of Wounds. Rasaq, thanks so much for being a guest tonight. It's been powerful poetry, and really appreciate you being here and joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And then I thank all the people watching us. I really appreciate that time and everything. Thanks so much.
Well, definitely our pleasure. Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So once again, that was Rasaq Malik Gbolahan. You can find all of Rasaq's work at his website, RasaqMalikGbolahan.com, which is RasaqMalikGbolahan.com. RasaqMalikGbolahan.com. Find The Origin of Wounds. He's got a couple chapbooks too. Like you said, he edits those two, I think, literary magazines in the Yorùbá-language. So check all of his work out and more at his website. We're going to take a quick break and go to our prompt lines. And I forgot to say, we're also revealing our prompt poet of the month this week. So we'll see who had the winning prompt poem this June. The prompt for this week was to think of the moment in your life that you most wish you had a photo of but don't. Make it come to life in your sensory-rich poem. There's your prompt for this week. If you submitted yours by Sunday at midnight, you may have received an invitation to join the invited prompt lines. So check your email, check your submittable, see if you were invited or not. If you did, you would have gotten an email. If not, your poem is still eligible to be prompt poem of the month. And you're welcome to submit more poems about these prompts until the end of the month. But if you receive one this week, join the Zoom now. And we'll be right back with Katie Dozier and a whole lot more poetry. See you in a minute. And we're back. Thanks so much for your patience. I'm here with our prompt poems editor, our creative editor, and my wife, Katie Dozier. How you doing, Katie?
I'm doing great, Tim.
And now we have the big reveal of our prompt poet of the month.
Yes, and so last month, we remember it was a poem that had not been shared on the invited prompt lines. But this month, it is a poem that was shared earlier in the month.
Well, that's exciting. And a great poem at the time. We recognized, or I did, the first time seeing it there. Like, wow, that was a good poem. I remember saying that.
That's usually the case when it beats out 600 poems.
Yeah. So the poem was, should I reveal it?
We should, because I have to say that the winning poet told me he was going to try very hard to be here, but he's like in the middle of nowhere in the wilderness or something. So we weren't sure if his Wi-Fi, but I bet he's sitting there trying. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to announce him as having won. And then if he comes back later on in the episode, then he'll be able to share his poem with us.
Okay. Well, that sounds like a good
Yeah,
deal.
okay.
So the winning poet was, drum roll please.
And there was some drama in the Prompt Lines Facebook group about who was going to win.
Oh.
Rachel Greaves saying she really wanted to guess, so I'm very curious.
Did anybody actually guess?
I didn't check back because but I want to see. I'm sure Rachel will make it known or anything if she got it right.
The winner was Arthur Russell with Ballad of Three Main Men, which is that long pantoum / ballad story.
And it won for the prompt, write a pantoum that plays. And I thought this really took that prompt in a very interesting direction. And I really enjoyed how it subverted sort of the ballad form into making it into the heroes being, these three main men as we come to reveal in the poem. And I thought it was really interesting to look at that. So hopefully Arthur can join us later. If not, though, we have to say that Arthur Russell also is a previous winner of the Rattle Poetry Prize. With the deadline is coming up. Is it really only just over a week?
It is 9 days away.
9 days away. I don't know. I keep thinking like I got to get my submission ready. And then I'm like, no, I don't. I don't get to enter. But I bet there are a lot of people that are getting their submissions ready.
Yeah, well, I wish I could enter too. That would be a lot of fun.
I know. I entered 4 times. The only time that I'd heard about Rattle and didn't have any affiliation where it's eligible.
And you just got your last issue on your subscription.
It's true, you guys. My subscription for that just expired. I think I should renew. What do you guys think?
Maybe it's worth picking up a copy. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll read the first stanza. How about that? Okay. Ballad of Three Main Men. At the rental that I'm renovating, the snow was painted yellow, red and blue, so gas lines won't get cut while excavating to switch the busted water main for new. And it goes on like that as a pantoum. So if Arthur can't make it, definitely check the website tomorrow where you'll hear
the great audio of him reading the poem.
Exactly.
I love how he reads poems too.
He does, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that is the prompt poem of the month. And now we have a prompt lines to do. And the prompt this week, once again, to remind y'all, was think of the moment in your life that you most wish you had a photo of but don't. Make it come to life in your sensory-rich poem.
Okay.
So what'd you get for us, Katie?
I have a poem called Shutter Release, which I realized was somewhat ironic as I made my first real attempt over on Instagram on behalf of Rattle's account. Speaking of which, I wanted to encourage everybody who is on Instagram in particular. Douglas Frithawk, who read last week, comes to mind specifically as somebody who's on Instagram. If you do a reel and share your prompt poem, like do a reel of you reading your prompt poem, we will share it from Rattle's account. I really would love to get people like actively reading their poems. I can attest, I felt really awkward doing it today, but I did it, and the next one will be easier, and I would love to see all of you all reading your
really
poems.
Cool. Yeah.
So. All right, but I was holding a shutter release button, and I only realized that after I wrote the poem, which is kind of funny. But
Interesting.
Shutter release. I didn't know how to freeze it then, the way I froze the fish tank moment when they told us, yet again, the time had come for them to rip what remained of our seam, and I was squeezing a globe hacky sack between my 5th grade fingers. It should be easier to hold onto a picture of that snow globe moment at a Christmas tree farm, the kind where all the trees still had their roots plunged into the growing cold ground. We all agreed on which tree, as if we knew it by its scent alone, which seemed to ornament the very air with good tidings and green. And no one could complain about the price of 5 hot chocolates or the itch of our newly knit sweaters. No one ever said it was too late. It was too late.
Yeah, well, powerful, simple ass line there, that poem.
Thank you. Well, it was a really nice memory my family had. My parents did divorce, I guess, quite obviously, but we still had happy moments too. And it's, I don't want to forget those just because we don't have a picture as much of them as I wish we did.
It's interesting to think about that. I don't know if our family did have happy moments ever as a family.
Oh, I think you had some.
Maybe somewhere.
You had some. You told me some.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, yeah, really powerful poem, Katie. Shutter Release. And I went with this, Escalator. So it's fun to have, two books I'm working on. So you can fit any prompt into any of the two books, which is fun. So this one does this. And this goes back to our days of flying back and forth all the time.
Ooh.
Okay, this is Escalator. In the photograph that doesn't exist, your 2 feet are frozen mid-fall, having emerged by the magic of the angle of the view from the drop tiles of the old airport's acoustic ceiling. So the skin of your shin is cut off by the mineral white of their textured panels at the height of a boot would be on your body, which descends at the carefully calculated 2 feet per second. The manufacturer's nominal speed, perfectly timed, is designed to match the handrail you must be holding as the step chain turns, the bull wheel hidden beneath the steel truss, polished rough like a tarnished mirror, so it only reflects the smudge of a blush of the pink dress you must be wearing. Pink as those toes over the gold sandals, waiting over the silver teeth that stretch the full length of the metal riser that match the tines of the combs of landing platform, so completely that if you dropped even an earring, it would be collected on the floor before me and not fall into the depths of the hidden housing where the slats of stairs turn to return in their emptiness the promise of holding they always held. As I stood wondering, was it you, was it you? Each shoe or slipper a question asked and answered until answered correctly in the frozen moment I never thought to capture, as captured as I was when the instant arrived that I knew.
Aw, you picked the first time you saw me.
Well, I don't even know. Like it's
a
all the times I went to pick you up at the airport,
that
and I'd be standing there waiting, seeing which foot was going to be.
Oh, that's really funny that it never occurred to me you would think of that. That's really sweet.
Well, thank you. That was my poem, Escalator. Now let's go to what we'll make sure. Let's go to Dick Westheimer,
our community host.
Everybody asked to be a community co-host keeps saying yes, and I'm scheduled out through November.
A popular man, my goodness.
No one can say no.
Well, it's a popular. It just, actually what happened is I kept asking people for the same month, and they said I can't do it then, but I can do it later. So anyway,
that's exciting. I can't wait to hear who's going to be joining us, or you.
Well,
yeah, not us, not joining us. It has nothing to do with us.
So to my poem, I kind of cheated a little bit because we do have a photograph from our wedding. Mm-hmm. It is so grainy that you could not tell who the two people are in it.
Aww.
And it was printed on bad paper, so it's faded. And this is what you get when you're a kind of a hippie and you hire your friends to do everything. Back when when it took film and a camera, not everybody came with a little phone. So anyway, Sand Mandela. We hired Deb's friend JR as photographer. He left his camera in the car. He left his film back at the house. By the time he returned, everyone had left but Deb and me, alone, dancing in the dark. In silence, we swayed to music only lovers on their own can hear, louder in the emptiness of a room made infinite by chairs upturned on tables, floors swept clean.
We lost?
Well, that doesn't happen
That's
every time.
Never happened. Okay. Well,
there he is. Wait, are you back, Dick?
Yeah. Hey, Dick. Wait, you're muted.
How long ago did I leave you? What happened?
Not that long. I mean,
yeah, that was strange. It's never happened. I don't think it's ever happened to anyone else either, where it's just cut like that.
And it's so clean. Yeah, you were at the end of the third stanza.
Yeah.
I think.
Okay, so I'll read the third stanza. Lovers on their own can hear, louder in the emptiness of a room made infinite by chairs upturned on tables, Floors swept clean, the band gone home. Through the window, JR got one grainy shot, now faded as the violet stitched into Deb's wedding dress.
Well, thanks, Dick, also for justifying the fact that we did get a photographer for our wedding, even though it was just the two of us.
We had a big old wedding with lots of friends and
Aw.
contra dancing and literally one photograph.
Oh, wow.
Aw.
Sort
Well, that
of.
was just, it was so exciting. Nobody thought to, which is, it happens
And
sometimes.
people used to live in the moment.
No,
That's
we
true.
hired a friend who left his camera in the car and filmed back at the house.
Yeah.
There we go. Well, thank you all. Looking forward to the rest of the poems.
Thanks so much,
Thanks,
Dick.
Dick.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Dick Westheimer, our community host with Sand Mandala. And let's go next to Nancy Tennell.
Hi there.
Hi, Nancy.
Hey,
Good
Nancy.
to see you.
Yeah, great to see you.
Good to see you. I thought maybe 400 people would send in poems about sunsets. But here's mine. On that night, the sun was melting, its colors seeping into the lower rim of the sky. There were pinks and purples, shades of amethyst, ametrine, the rare podpiracha sapphires, orange-pink sheen. They mingled in a swath of color with blues and greens of tourmaline and imperial golden topaz. A gemstone array, nature's palette, on display, as if to say, make way, for the moon is arriving to command the sky. Nestle among stars, control the tides. In welcome, the sun has spread this royal cloak of colors, over which the moon will slowly rise. I remember how I stared, mesmerized, and though I had no camera to capture the scene in every sunset sense, I have hoped for its repeat.
Yeah.
I particularly, Nancy, I love the make way. This felt like you made a parade in the sky for us. So I thought that was nice. And I have to say, too, I only had like a handful of sunset or like that kind of a thing poems. So I was surprised,
good.
too.
Well, thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks very much, Nancy.
Yeah, thanks. Beautifully described, and I wish I got to see it too. On That Night by Nancy Tennell.
Yeah.
Next, let's go to Zachary Honeycutt.
Hey, Tim and Katie.
Hey, Zach, great to see you.
And you had some good news today, right?
Yes, I did. I got a prompt poem published in Rat's Ass Review.
Nice.
It's wonderful. Yeah.
Well, congratulations. Yeah.
Yeah, I have to say that post is going wild in the Prompt Lines group on Facebook. Everybody's very excited for you, as they should be. And it was also like a really fast response, too, I believe I saw in your, yeah.
It was like less than, I submitted it yesterday. I got a response from him, and this is only the second time I've submitted to him. And I just wrote this, like, I don't know, less than 2 months ago, maybe. Yeah, there was the Black Water poem. Yeah.
All right.
And there's like, I don't know, it's gotten up to 43 or 44 likes in our group and keeps rising.
Great.
So I appreciate all the love. I was drawn to it because he's like Roderick Bates, the editor of Rat's Ass Review. If you look at the description on his website, he's just like, give me what I like. I don't care about anything else. Even if it's a good poem, don't give me that. And then he's like, otherwise I don't give a rat's ass. And something about that I was like, oh, this blatant honesty that some might consider rudeness, but it actually is helpful. And like, he likes some of the poets I do, like Yeats and Edna St. Vincent Millay. So I just had a gut feeling that he was going to go for it. And I didn't think it would be this fast, but yeah, so I had a great morning. And then I was praying. I told Katie that I would be on so I could share with you guys. And sure enough, I was on. So it was a good day for me.
Well,
Good.
yeah, congratulations, Zach. That's great.
Thank you, guys. And now I will get to my sonnet. Sonnet 30. A boy and his dog. When you left, I thought I heard you crumpling grass blades down beneath your yellow paws while I was kneeling, giving you my blessing. Was it wrong to hope the others grabbed shorter straws than you every time I knew a pet was leaving? You were my favorite of the zoo, but it was myself I do regret deceiving, that before my unflawed view, you'd never dissolve into substance unseen. You floated above me like a doggy queen, with subtle grace, like when you guarded my bed. But I have no photos of you I've seen, save the still living one that breathes in my head. That portrait of you and Dad that I will see always. Me on my trike and you chasing me.
Well, Zach, I thought that was such a powerful way to end that poem, with the movement. And I love it too when a movement ends on a poem, but it like is continuing and you get to watch it kind of like run off into the distance like that. It's very cinematic. It was a very good ending. So.
Oh, cool. Cinematic. Thank you. Thanks, Katie and Tim.
Yeah.
Thanks, Zach. Good to see you.
Very touching thing to write about too, Zach. Thanks for sharing that.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you guys. See you next week.
Yeah.
Great episode.
Yeah. It was Zachary Honeycutt with a boy and his dog. Next, let's go to a first-time caller, Jessica Koval-Mansett.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yes,
I can.
we can.
Thanks so much for being here.
Excellent. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
So this is Had to Be There, a Sestina. If we'd caught on camera the moment she was born, you'd see how I laughed her right into the world, in the literal sense. Some unremembered joke, the nurse had told some joke we didn't catch on camera, some silly little nonsense just before the baby was born, pushing her into the world as I laughed. The way I laughed, you'd have thought the joke the funniest thing in the world, worthy of catching on camera the moment she was born, and the overwhelming sense that nothing had made any sense before I laughed so much my baby was born, the aftermath of a joke so good a camera couldn't for the world have captured it. My world rocked in every sense of the word, the camera far from mind as I laughed, not so much at the joke, but for this being born from me, my firstborn slipping out into the world with the timing of a perfect joke. And what perfect sense it made that I laughed right then and off camera, our inside joke, me and my newborn not yet on camera, this world exploding every sense as I laughed.
Well, Jessica, this poem really took me into the moment, and I was just floored that you chose to write a sestina for this prompt. So I was really curious if you'd tell us what led you in that direction to head into a sestina.
Yeah, honestly, when it came into my mind, I couldn't even tell you why I said, let's do a sestina, except that, I'm trying to play more and more with different forms that I don't pick up as often. And I had written sestinas before, but never free verse, like never not metered. And so I decided I would do this one a little bit freer, shorter lines. We had a nice conversation around this in the Rattlecast prompts Facebook group, actually, and I got some really great comments and feedback. And as I was writing, I felt like the sestina and the way it makes you repeat those same words over and over again, it kind of very much lent itself to that, trying to capture this kind of crazy, chaotic moment of becoming, and something's about to happen and not really being in control of everything, but and then this just sense of laughter and a little bit of silliness.
Yeah, it made it so musical because there was, so much laughter in this poem that you could just hear it. And then also I really liked, and I hadn't really thought about this before, but it's something I like in general when I see it in sestinas, which is the decision to repeat more than just the chosen repeat words, like to have like unexpected repetitions, I think really adds to the music and to the, giving it the anaphora that like you're looking for in there. So it was really pleasant to read. And one of those too that like you'd forget you were reading a sestina almost, which I mean as a compliment because you don't want to be hit over over the head with the fact, So
Yeah, definitely. And the short line Cecinas are so rare, and I think work so well because you really hear. I guess my problem with Cecinas usually is the long lines.
Yeah,
and the far you don't really hear it
fashion,
as
the
much.
long lines.
Yeah.
I'm seeing shorter and shorter lines.
So
the form is coming back.
You hear the words.
It's, yeah.
Like if it's not a rhyme if you can't hear it. You know, if it's so far away. That's kind of how it feels. But it's great.
True.
Yeah. Well, where are you calling from too, Jessica?
I'm calling from Durham, North Carolina.
Great.
Very cool. Well, thanks so much for being here. Glad to see you.
Thank you so much. Oh, and speaking of moments we wish were caught on camera, it's so funny. My baby today, who this is about, she's almost 9 months old, and today she had a very momentous day. She decided to crawl forward for the first time and wave for the first time. And of course, we did not catch it on camera, just with our eyeballs.
Well, a new poem forthcoming.
Yeah, that's really sweet. All right, thanks so much, Jessica.
Thanks so much, Jessica. Very sweet. That was Jessica Koval-Manset with Had to Be There. All right. And now let's go to Laura Berg.
Hi. Oh, well, some of these poems are really like magic. They're making the photograph come to life that didn't exist before.
Yeah, definitely. Great way to put it. Yeah, it's a cool prompt.
Okay, well, seeing ourselves. Once we had to find pools of still water, squat down, and push aside the duckweed to glimpse ourselves, or be startled to find our tiny warped reflections in a sibling's eyes. Or we could simply feel our faces with sensitive fingers crinkled at the edges. Soon we learned to polish obsidian and stare as our likenesses emerged from the dark. Not so long ago, the silver-backed mirrors spread so each of us could groom alone. We kept finding more ways to view ourselves, camera, selfie. Now an endless unspooling of video absorbs us. Yet in my family, we didn't take many photographs. There's one I most wish we could have taken, of us all, arms around each other, no one uneasy, no one looking lost, as if they'd been dropped into the wrong picture.
Well, Laura, I love the ending of that poem. And then also the journey at the beginning was so interesting because it is like we take for granted. Like when I was filming my reel and I was like, oh God, I'm so sick of seeing my own face today, but like that used to be like, oh, wait, that's me. Like that, 200 years ago, it was like trying to find yourself occasionally so that you had a vague understanding of what other people were looking at all the time. It really took me through that experience in a neat way. And it sort of felt like it was an essay that Jane Hirschfield form at first. And then it had this wonderful turn back to you more personally that I really enjoyed.
Well, thank you. Thanks. It was a really enjoyable exercise.
Oh, wonderful, Laura. Thanks for being
Laura.
here.
Thanks. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Laura Berg with Seeing Ourselves. Let's go next to Marlene Barney.
Hi, Marlene.
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Hi, this is my first time, and I'm nervous.
Oh, don't be nervous. I was going to ask where you're calling from.
My voice really does some weird things when I'm nervous. But anyway.
That's all right. But where are you? Where are you calling from?
I'm in Wilmington, North Carolina.
So it's two North Carolina first timers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Marlene, you don't need to be nervous because you have a fascinating story for us.
Thank you. This is Dinner with Ginsberg. The May Day House, a commune where the seeds of the anti-war May Day protest of 1970 in our capital city were watered and nourished to fruition. A late 19th century brick row house, painted pale green, on tree-lined Lanier Place, the dogwoods and redbuds beginning to bloom in early spring, Washington, D.C., 1971. A group of young activists, 8 of us, cross-legged on the floor, all long hair, patchouli, denim, and bell-bottoms, at the dining room table. A solid oak door, lacquered, polished, marred, excuse me, with burns of smoldering ashes, melted wax, rings from hot mugs, resting on double-stacked cinder blocks, welcoming our last-minute dinner guest in town for a poetry reading, Allen Ginsberg. For dinner, pan-seared lamb chops, mashed potatoes and gravy, tossed salad with homemade dressing of plain yogurt and soy sauce, 2 straw-encased bottles of Chianti. Ginsberg sat to my right, stocky, balding on top, curly black hair behind, black-framed glasses, thick black beard and mustache, smelling of cigarette smoke and pot. He didn't say much. Starstruck and speechless, I felt my heart beat in my throat like a bird caught in a bush, anticipating danger. At one point, I passed him the potatoes, so nervous I nearly spilled them in his lap. Ginsberg ate the potatoes, no gravy, salad with dressing, drank some Chianti, smoked a Lucky, LSMFT, and left. No one thought to take a photograph. I was disappointed he didn't stay longer. We later learned he was a vegetarian.
Oh, I wouldn't have known that either.
That's true. Yeah.
Do you know what the LSMFT stood for?
I assume it's a drug that I hadn't heard of, but I don't know.
So his brand was Lucky Strikes, and the advertising of the day was Lucky Strikes means fine tobacco.
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, I felt like I loved all the sensory rich details that you had for us there, and just, saying that there were lamb chops. I could smell lamb chops. And then I found it fascinating too, what was not in the poem, which was not Allen Ginsberg speaking up and saying, like, I don't eat those lamb chops, like him just staying quiet and like eating only the things. I thought it made him a very much a more round character in my own mind, which is great as an Allen Ginsberg fan. So it was a fascinating story.
The funny thing is that before he became a vegetarian, he liked lamb chops.
Oh, he picked a bad time to switch, perhaps.
Well, I bet they were great, though.
Yeah. Thanks so much,
Thanks,
Marlene. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was Marlene Barney with Dinner with Ginsberg.
I was too, when I read the title, I was like, please let it be Allen Ginsberg. Please let it be Allen Ginsberg. And it was.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, next let's go to Jared Campbell.
Hello.
Hi, Jared.
Hey, Jared.
Wait, this is not Benjamin Campbell.
Wait a minute.
No.
This is the wrong Campbell. He was so cute last week. Oh my
You've
God.
gone back to the wrong Campbell. Yep. Yeah, he was cute last night. Yeah, last week. Yep.
He was.
So I have an embarrassment of radiances. An angel wears a halo, but you have 7 halos, all out of alignment, each centered on a different perfection. You look like such a mess with your embarrassment of radiances. Who told you you could have so many perfections? All the other angels are so tasteful, and you're lit up like the 4th of July. You look ridiculous.
I thought, Jared, this was a different kind of praise poem. A praise poem for 2026, maybe.
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So thanks very much. And I hope Benjamin submits again, just putting that out there.
Yeah, he's got some skills.
He really does. He was so cute that we were telling the kids afterwards, after the show, like how sweet he was reading and everything. He does though, and it is so cute because I can hear the little bit of your voice in his voice, so it's really fun to get to hear that too.
Yeah, I've never been confused where he came from.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you very much.
All right. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Jared.
Bye, Jared.
It was Jared Campbell with embarrassment of radiances. Good way to put it. Let's go next to Carla Schwartz.
Hi.
Hi, Carla.
Hey, Carla.
I'm very happy to be here and listening to everybody else's poems. And mine may not be as happy, but let's see how it goes. Broken record. November 2007. How small my mother must be now. Is that really her in that box? It smells fresh, newly put together, just pine, a few knots in the boards, cheap nails. I don't notice her, the box. My cousin points it out. It shocks. My mother attends her own funeral, wrapped in linen, ready to meet the worms. Low ceilings, afraid of feeling boxed in. The speakers, my mother's friend from high school, she was brilliant in math. My mother, immigrant girl, survivor, artist, painter, potter, photographs. Her colleagues, she fought for our salaries, our jobs, equal pay. Even me, poems I wrote the night before. How do I come across, ignoring my tears? Somewhere I might have copies of those speeches, but tell me, how do I conjure the numbness? How do I conjure my father standing before us in his suit? From her love of the outdoors, I learned to love, to swim, to hike, to ski. And then this, his singing to her a farewell song no one could have expected, his baritone ringing out, "You were meant for me." We all quake, wet cheeks, salt in my throat. Memory card in her Canon, no videos.
Well, Carla, I found your poem to be extraordinarily touching. And I mean, the moment in the poem body about singing, I mean, was just, I felt like, you know, like I knew everyone that was in the moment of that poem so much. And then the final haiku, I love the haiku too.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I so much appreciate what you're doing, and of course everybody in the community. And thank you. Thank you.
So we appreciate you, Carla.
Definitely.
Yeah. Thank you.
A very
Thank you.
touching poem. Really, the emotion comes across so strongly. Thanks for sharing it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's Carla Schwartz with Broken Record. A good use of the title, too.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. That's going to wrap up the invited prompt lines for this week. Let's go on to a haiku. And the haiku, what do you have for us, Katie Dozier?
I have fetching the paper divorce.
Nice. Fetching the paper divorce. Interesting.
About my parents' divorce and back when the paper was something that was fetched.
Yeah, very interesting. You know, and the double use of the fetching there. That's so much, you know, similar to the or the poem you wrote. Were you thinking about Hyben at the time?
Actually,
or
it's funny because I wrote this at a different night. I don't remember when I wrote it, and I don't remember why I was thinking about my parents' divorce so much this week. But I don't know. I went into my new poems doc, and it was there, and it was a haiku, and I pasted it into you.
All right. Well, very nice.
Yep.
It does feel like a slow roll of a Hyben, maybe.
Yeah.
All right.
Everything is a slow roll of a Hyben.
Okay, so for mine, you know, we did the fireworks, it was the best fireworks show I've ever seen here.
Yeah, in the woodlands. It was wild. I mean, the bigger in Texas thing comes with its perks.
And great, you know, we were so close, and they were just
we
right
got to
overhead,
walk. I know,
so.
it was absolutely amazing.
So I wrote a few haiku for that. Here's one of them. Infrasounds louder at the seams. There you go. Infrasounds louder at the seams. There you go. That is my Hyben. It was just great big booms.
Yeah,
you know?
it was wild. I felt it in my heart.
Yeah, definitely. And the kids loved it too. All right. Well, that is the haiku. Let's see what the prompt's going to be for next week. Did I put it in? Yeah, I did. Okay.
Good. You pasted it.
So what is the prompt, Katie?
We're going to write a poem that quotes a line from a Rattle Poetry Prize finalist from the year you found out about Rattle.
That's very interesting, but
I know.
How am I going to do it?
I don't know. You're going to figure it
Okay.
out. There was a year which you found out about.
I'm curious if anybody else predates the Rattle Poetry Prize too, because that it was 2008.
If so, pick the first year. What was the first year? Do you remember offhand?
2008.
2008. All right, then go back to 2008. But
Yeah.
for me, it's not 2008.
Or no, maybe
sadly.
it was 2006 actually. I think it was 2000. No.
Fine. So what I
Yeah,
mean too
2006.
is like the
so this
year
is the 21st year. Yes.
the year you found out about Rattle, meaning, I don't know, you found your first Rattle magazine or whatever it was. And if it was before 2008, then gold star. But then just go to the first year. Mhm.
Okay.
That
Well,
should be
sounds
fun.
good. So write a poem that quotes a line from a Rattle Poetry Prize finalist, though. Not a winner. A finalist.
Yeah, it could be. I don't. You made that
Okay.
distinction last time. I'm the one who makes the prompts. It can be like, to me,
Well,
the
that's
person
what
who
it
wins
says.
is also a finalist. That's how I feel about it.
Okay.
Like they were also. It's not like you win and you weren't like in the final.
Okay.
Like that's the way it
Okay,
works.
duly noted.
That's the way I feel about
Interpretation has been put down
Yes.
in the fine print.
Yes, but of course we're gearing up for the Rattle Poetry Prize deadline on July 15th, which is really coming up. So.
Oh, I even have a graphic for it. Look, you just put
Yes.
this right there. Oh, look at that.
Oh, wonderful. That's a good graphic. But I figure too, I mean, back that one glorious year I was able to submit before I met him, it was like I wanted to reread the finalist poems and everything. Not I don't think it's because, we want the poems we haven't published yet. So don't look at it with that in mind. But I mean, what an excuse to look at truly excellent, amazing poetry. And I find myself doing it now, even though there's really not a specific reason I should be doing that. But
Yeah, I love somebody said, I can't remember who it was, but they said, it's not a contest, it's a slow motion festival.
what?
I love that idea. Yeah, exactly.
Did Allen Ginsberg say that?
Maybe
Okay.
after he ate his mashed potatoes. Okay. Well, that is coming up. So we got 9 days away from that deadline and one show in between. And next week's guest in the Rattlecast is going to be Lisa Baird. So Lisa is a Canadian poet, a performance poet too, which is always fun to talk about how to perform poems and things like that. Her most recent book is When Whales Went Back to the Water. Very fun title there, too. That's the next week's guest, Lisa Baird. Your prompt, once again, is to write a poem that quotes a line from a Rattle Poetry Prize finalist from the year you found out about Rattle. So really interesting to hear that year. That's the prompt. That's the guest. Rattlecast 350, the regular time, Monday, July 13th at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. I hope to see you there. Hope you have a great week. In the meantime, we'll talk to you later. Goodbye.
Good night.